Hey everybody, I'm Thurman,
And I'm Lorraine.
and together we are
Two
Dos
people
Persona, two people.
love the Camino.
Hey everybody, I'm Thurman,
I'm Lorraine.
and together we are two
Two
people
people
who
who
love
love
the
the
Camino.
Camino.
And for the past several weeks, we've been talking on the weekend about some of our Camino memories, primarily about our first Camino. We've been privileged to walk three Caminos. We did the Frances twice, once in 2014, once in 2017, and then we did the Portuguese from Porto in 2018. During that time, we walked to Murcia in 2014. We walked to Finisterre. I walked alone, and then Lorraine walked with me in 2017. And then in 2018, I walked to Finisterre again, and Lorraine met me on the bus there, and so we've got a love relationship with the Camino, and particularly the last part of the Camino, or the post Camino, between Santiago and the coast. Uh, so just a little bit of a meme to get us started here tonight. You can read that for us, ma'am.
Every day is a journey, and the road itself is home.
There we go. Now we're trying to figure out where that picture was taken, and I'm not certain about this, but I'm thinking it was taken between Hospital d'Orbigo and Astorga, that run of road just before where David, remember where David was set up if you walk that particular portion. Anyway, I'm not certain where that was. So we've been privileged during our time of walking Caminos to have several weeks afterwards as well. So what we were going to talk about tonight was that 5 week period after the Camino ended, which you see on the screen here. We spent a weekend in Santiago, and then what did we do after that?
We passed to Finisterre.
And we spent several days out there, then back to Santiago and spent another weekend.
And then we went to Porto, Portugal to be tourists.
Tourists, completely tourists, for a solid week, a beautiful week in late October, and then back to Santiago.
And then a walk to Murcia.
Murcia, and then back to Santiago.
Santiago.
You're starting to see a pattern here, aren't you? Back to Santiago for 10 days this time.
Then we took the train to Barcelona because that's where our airplane ticket was going to fly out of. But we had met some wonderful people on the Camino who invited us to stay at their
place in San Filio de Guixó, which is right there just north of Barcelona. The interesting thing about the train ride, it was a high-speed train, and it took 9 hours to go to Pamplona. And just before that, we had taken 43 days to walk from Pamplona. So time is relevant in that way, isn't it? And then back to Canada. So what we decided to do tonight, instead of talking about all of these things, is talk about a part of the Camino that has really become very, very special to me, at least, over three Caminos. One of our favorite places came to be Finisterre, or Finisterre, and I bet I closed that screen that I was going to read that. Finisterre is the Roman word meaning, or Latin, meaning end of Finisterra, the end of the world, or Fisterra is the Galician name. Galician is that northwestern province of Spain. So while we were there, we heard about Finisterre and people walking to, and we had lots of time. So the first year, first of all, we bussed out there.
Because my feet were so sore.
Right.
I couldn't walk farther.
So we bussed out there, and I'm going to show you a short video of that, because that's actually where I just began to feel for whatever reason, I loved Finisterre before we got there. One of the articles I was reading just a little while ago talked about being a rock-bound peninsula, and you'll see that in this video. So we bussed out there, and then back to Santiago, and then we walked to Murcia, which is just north of Finisterre a little bit. And then, as I mentioned before, we walked back, and we bussed every year, and we walked every year, and so it became one of my favorite places. This is a picture of the village. This every picture here tonight that you're going to see are pictures that we took, except this one. This one is just an image we lifted off of the off of the internet somewhere. Any idea why Finisterre became so important to you and to I? What was it about it that
it was like home.
it felt like home, didn't it? It's
Except everybody spoke Spanish, which
yeah.
is not home.
And in fact, every year at the end, one of the hardest things for me every year was when we realized we were leaving Finisterre for the last time, and we're walking away. It felt like we were leaving a bit of our hearts there. And I'm not exactly sure why that was. The way I describe it is it's a bit of a very active fishing community, for one thing. So that's an atmosphere that I love. And then you combine that with it's a bit of a pilgrim thing because a lot of the pilgrims continue to walk there. And then there's a bit of a hippie element as well because a lot of the people go there and just decide to stay. And you put all of those things together, especially the time of year that we were there. It was just vibrant for me. I couldn't get enough of it. Some people talk about Musia as being better. It's about 30 kilometers north. The last year we walked up to Musia actually, but I think I liked. Do you have any preference, Musia or Finisterre?
I like them both.
I like them both, but if I had a chance to go spend a week somewhere, I think I would
rather spend the week in Finisterre.
I think I'd always end up at Finisterre. So here's a little bit of that bus ride going out there the first time.
Rocky land as we're near Finisterre.
Just absolutely amazing, actually. Just as a rock-bound peninsula is a great way to describe it. It's like nothing I had ever seen. I was captivated by it as I was watching out the bus window. It was rained the whole time while we were going out there. And I've always said to anybody that I've seen in Santiago at the end of their pilgrimage, and they're wondering what to do. They've got a day here or a day there and something to do. My advice would always be grab the coastal bus and take that 3-hour drive to Finisterre, and then grab it and come right back if you have to. But you've got to see this drive along the coast in Finisterre. So that's getting to Finisterre. So the other way to get to Finisterre is
to walk.
So we did that. A few times. In fact, remember I told you what I learned how to do.
He learned how to walk. We'd been walking for 48 days.
So 48 days
the
one
first
year, and then to the
42
coast.
days the next year.
And then to the coast. And then the second trip to the coast.
He finally learned how to walk.
That's when I think I learned. I really do think I learned how to walk just for walking's sake at that time. Because the first time I walked that second year, well, when we walked the first year, we walked to Musia, and it's about 90 kilometers, and we took remember how many days? Four days, and it was for longer than I thought. And the second time, I was walking alone, so this is a time to get my macho on, right? So I walked the 90 kilometers to Finisterre in 3 days, and I live to regret that.
Got bad blisters.
Yeah, real bad blisters. You saw a picture of a young lady on there with me a little while ago. That was Mia from Colorado. I've never seen her since that time. So if Mia, if you ever happen to view this video, I'd love for you to comment on it, because we walked together a couple of days going out there that time, and Mia was a tall young lady, and she was a fast walker, and I walked hard that time, and I was carrying my backpack for the first time in quite a while, and I got bad blisters. In fact, going down into Say, which is the village about 12 kilometers before Finisterre, is quite a steep descent. You'll see it coming up here in a minute. I'll try to point it out when it comes up. Another lady came along, and it was obvious she wanted to walk down in there with me. And I just told her, no, ma'am, I can't bear to let you see a grown man cry, because it It was bad blisters, but anyway, I walked out there in the 3 days, come back the next day to Santiago, rested for just a weekend that you and I walked, and that's the time I'm. That's the whole point of this. I digress some.
You do.
And then we walked out and we took. Remember how many days this was? I thought this was going to be hard on me, but we were going to do 6 days, and then we realized you'd almost have to quit walking in order to do it in 6 days. There's Mia from Colorado right there. So to get to Finisterre, it's 90 kilometers. It's a great walk through the Galician hills. There's no mountains or anything. There's the down. You can't see it down there, but it's fairly steep going down into there. So you walk through these villages. It's set up just like the Camino. There are hostels and cafes there. Maybe not quite as many as there were along the French route of the Camino, but several. There's some young people I caught tenting one night, so I stopped and they invited me in for breakfast with them. But that's how you get to talking about that sign right there.
This is the sign that you either go to Murcia or you go to Finisterre. I'm pointing the way to go to
Right. This was
Murcia
the second. This
time,
was the second. No, you were pointing towards Finisterre that time.
Oh, was I?
The first year we went to Murcia, but. Interesting, the last time I walked out there by myself again, it was still dark when I got to that spot. And there were 4 people ahead of me walking together, and 2 of them went each direction. So it was, I'm not sure what that was about. Maybe they were going to meet in the middle somewhere at a later time. So that's how you get to Finisterre. Negrera, San Martin, Olagoso, Say. You just keep walking, one step, 1 foot in front of the other. That's the sign that you follow on the way to Finisterre.
Is that picture of the water coming back again?
The picture of the falls? You tell them about it while it's coming.
This is another picture of the 2 ways to go.
That's right.
Make up our mind which way to go.
Yeah. So tell them about the waterfalls while is that what you meant?
Well, it was I wasn't with you.
Which one?
Those ones when one year it was beautiful and the next year it wasn't.
Oh, okay. Yes. There was arguably the most beautiful spot on the entire Camino that we passed just before we got the end of day 1 on this walk, just before Negrera. And it was a beautiful waterfalls, wide waterfalls. There was a mill down in there. And the next year I went back, it was almost dry. I couldn't believe what a difference it made, because I'd been looking forward to seeing that spot so very much. So it should come up here just about right now, I think. Let me see. No, there's the young people.
I thought it would have been back.
Well, it's coming. It really was a beautiful spot. There was a bridge that you could stand on. Maybe we'll edit this part of the video out a little bit. Here it comes, the next picture. Oh, this is my favorite albergue on there, a little place in the middle of nowhere called Olagoso, where we stayed. There it is, right there. So there's 2014, and the next picture is 2017. The very same spot, almost exactly the same angle. Look at the difference. Look at the difference of that. The difference a year can make. Okay, so that's enough for how to get there. What we really so when you get to Finisterre, one of the major attractions is
you got to walk to the lighthouse.
To the lighthouse.
Which is about 4 kilometers farther than the town. Right.
So we walked out there the first year, even though we had bust out to Finisterre. We walked to there. What happens at the lighthouse?
It rains.
It does. There's a statue on the way. We're going to show you a little bit of the rain in a minute, but what else happens at the lighthouse?
I don't know.
We take pictures.
That's what we do. Mile zero.
Mile zero, there it is. Look at that. I didn't realize that. We're making a little heart with our arms and hands.
Cool.
That's pretty nice, isn't it? There's the lighthouse that first year. In fact, when I show you the video in just a minute, you should see the lighthouse in that video, but it is so foggy on that day, it's just not there. That's the church on the way out to the lighthouse. Some of the trinkets you pick up at the lighthouse.
Oh, we don't really pick them up.
Well,
we
take
pictures of them.
We take pictures. It's much cheaper to take pictures than it is Then well, we pick them up. We just put them back. We just put
Very
them back
neat
down.
shells, all kinds of
Yeah.
shells like you don't see in the.
Right. There's Cruiser at the lighthouse. So everybody walks out to the lighthouse. A lot of people do some foolish things like burn an article of clothing, which is against the law. Different rituals that people go through, but basically, it's the end. It's the ritualistic end of many people's Camino. There we are, looking directly west towards that rock. Anything before I go on to the rain?
This
Okay, go
is
ahead.
where Christopher Columbus thought was the end of the earth.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. That's why it is called. It's the westernmost point in Spain, at least. It was thought to be the westernmost point of the Iberian Peninsula, which includes Portugal as well. But apparently, there's a place in Portugal that's 16 kilometers further west. But this still has the name Finisterre or Finisterre, the end of the world. So here's a couple of videos of us the first time that we walked out there in a driving rain. Enjoy.
All the guidebooks say that Cape Finisterre is a great place to see a sunset, so we're going out to test that theory today. I'm afraid the sun may be a bit disappointed.
I can hardly see you.
Buen Camino.
Buen Camino.
Of the 6 billion people currently alive in the world, what percentage of them do you think have had the privilege of walking to Cape Finisterre in a driving rainstorm?
I have no idea, but we're 2 of them.
But we're 2 of them. Buen Camino.
And we are aware that we are blessed to be able to do this. So even though we were doing it in the rain, the laughter was not fake at all. It is a real privilege to be able to do the things that we have done in Finisterre, in Spain, and Portugal. So there's the lighthouse. The other thing we liked about the Camino or in Portugal or in Finisterre?
The people.
The people. What about the people?
People that you didn't expect to meet up with.
Yeah,
We often ran back into them again.
Those reunions, just when you needed it the most and didn't expect it at all, right? In fact, one day, remember we were having what we called it
a little pity
we
party.
were having a pity party.
Feeling kind of lonely because everybody that we knew was gone.
We just said goodbye to Kathy and Lee, and we knew then that everybody that we knew in Spain had gone home.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, well, this is Lars and Victoria that we'd met just the day before, so that doesn't really count. But here's Jenny. Jenny from...
I always want to call her Viv.
yeah, her husband is Viv. Jenny from Australia. Julian or Jules from Germany. I met him the year before this, and then all of a sudden here he was again. And so it's just amazing that experience. Tell a little bit about Pilar.
Pilar was our hospitalero
In
Say, and she was amazing. The first year she took us on a drive that
about 8 kilometers.
8 kilometers, way up to the top of a mountain to see an amazing waterfall. And then the second year when we were there and she found out I was going to take the bus, she says, no, I take you. And she drove me to
She drove to Finisterre, yeah. So amazing gift of her time, of her personality for us both years. So I'll probably tag you in this one, Pilar, and say although I don't know what good it will do. You can't speak a word of English, but maybe we'll tag you in this and you can get somebody to translate for you. But thank you again for your part in our Camino. Both years that we were stayed at your place, you made it amazing.
And then there was John and Meg, our friends from Australia.
Also from Australia. They showed up right in the middle of that pity party.
Yeah.
In fact, 5 minutes after we decided we were going to have a pity party, John and Meg came down this street right here, and then Judith came right. Judith from Germany, she came right down that street out as well. Jenny as well came right along at that point. And this is Mia from Korea, and that was a different story. But the people that we met, Gisela,
Right.
Isla, we met there.
Another woman who didn't know a stitch of English.
But she could talk loud German. We met Glenn and I forget his wife's name, but they're the ones that shared the pizza with us that night.
Right.
And then another night they shared the what do you call that? The fish paella.
Right.
Oh my goodness! You can't believe the paella that is in. This is Kathy and Lee from. We'll continue to talk. Kathy and Lee from Seattle. Jesse from Germany. And the Peace Man. The Peace Man is kind of an institution around Finisterre, although the last time we were there, I think he told us that he had cancer and he didn't have much longer to live. But I love this picture of Jessie and the Peace Man. Jessie was one of those young ladies that could talk with compassion to almost anybody. And he was sitting across the street from where we were eating, and she ran out there, sat down, and had the greatest conversation with him. And I've got a meme that I made up that's going to come up here in just a few minutes. That I think the meme was made for this picture. There's Thurland and the Peace Man. Jesse and David, some people we walked with. Sousa, I think, Lorraine's friend from Lorraine met her in Santiago while I was walking to Finisterre, and then she showed up completely unexpected again. Right, we didn't expect to see her. There's Lorraine and the Peace Man. And here's the meme that I thought. I read this quote after that, and I just thought of this picture and still think of it every once in a while. What if every relationship was based on two thoughts? Every relationship that you have or that I have or anybody has, if we based it on two thoughts: I matter, and the gifts that I offer to this world matter, and
you matter, and the gifts you offer to this world matter.
Wouldn't that be an amazing way to think of every relationship, every person that you meet? I matter and you matter, and the gifts we bring to this world matter. I think that might change some things in the world if we thought of it that way. So there's some of the people that we loved about Finisterre. The accommodations, you know what my finger's in that picture for?
It's pointing to the top of the hill where our place was.
we picked it out because on the map it looks like it's very close to the wharf, and it's only like a half a kilometer from the wharf, and that's where we wanted to stay. But what we didn't realize is the topography of Finisterre is rather rugged. And so
it was a long ways up on sore feet.
Yeah. This was the year that she had the really sore feet. It was a beautiful place to stay, except that it was way up there. So we either ended up going downtown and trying to stay there as long as possible, or not going down. We were there about three nights, I think, that we stayed there. Called Finisterre. It was a beautiful spot, but just not for us the next time we were back.
This was a nicer place. It was also up the hill.
It was.
But not as far.
Right.
And
our legs were better.
Right. And we shared it with friends, so that was fun.
Kathy and Lee from Seattle. That's not Kathy there. That's Lorraine and Lee from Seattle and Winchester in that picture. And there's a view out our bedroom windows, that place. Then when they left,
we found this place on the third floor.
On the third floor.
There's always a theme of going up.
This was my favorite spot because of location, place. Right? It was right beside the bus stop, right on the corner. The bus would go down to the end of the wharf and turn around and then drive back through that waterfront, beautiful waterfront, and stop right on that corner. And this place was right beside that. So we were when we stayed there for 3 nights, I think, We were right in the middle of it. This is where we were when we were having the pity party, just across the road from
So
everything
going
else.
downtown was seconds instead of a
Yeah.
long walk.
So when you go to Finisterre, there's a dozen different ways you can stay. There's Airbnbs, Booking.com, hotels, little spots like this, pensions, I guess. There are several cheap albergues, several places to stay. Almost choose your style when you get there. I think there's one more. Oh, this is the Airbnb we stayed the last time. We stayed for 7 nights in this one. The food at the end of the world and the places that we ate.
This is where we had the pity party.
This was the pity party. This was really our go-to place because they remember the very first time we went in there, we just asked them, we weren't going to stay there or anything, we just asked them could we drop our bags while we walked to the lighthouse, and
Yeah.
they said yes, and then we just dropped them in the corner, no issues at all.
We went for lots of snacks there. Because
Lots of
we really
snacks,
liked it
because
there.
of that, and that it was right at the end of the main walk coming down into Finisterre, and so there were two stools, maybe 3 outside, and in the little window.
And
So
then 2 more at the other
okay,
window.
and then it was a full restaurant inside as well, and we really liked that spot.
As long as you didn't get run over by a car.
Yeah, you did feel like you did feel like you were in the middle of the row street when you
There
were
was
sitting
no
there.
edge.
Yeah. So just a beautiful spot where we sat and ate our breakfast one morning overlooking the ocean. And then this paella that's going to come up here again in a minute. You had to have
3. No, 2.
two people do this. This is for 3.
For
this
3,
one,
yeah.
but they wouldn't sell it to an individual. You had to have it 2, and unfortunately, my wife,
I don't like it.
she doesn't like it. So, fortunately, the second year we were there, we discovered this, how good it was. That's when we were with Kathy and Lee from Seattle. Kathy didn't want anything to do with it, but Lee did, and so we chowed down that night, and oh my goodness, that was great. Remember this mistake I made, the order of my paellas?
The next time.
Yeah.
You ordered a lesser one.
The next night, actually, I thought, yeah, because this was like 40 euros for that paella for 2 people, and it was just unbelievable. And the next night there was a pilgrim's menu for 12 euros with paella, and I should have known that if I had bought the $12 one first, I probably would have enjoyed it and then super enjoyed that. But that was the wrong order to do that in. But if you ever go to Finisterre, you've got to go down to this restaurant right on the waterfront. I'm going to show you some pictures of the waterfront in a minute, and enjoy.
Our last
enjoy
time
the food.
there, we did not find anybody to share.
Yeah, Glenn Slater.
Well, then how come I had to eat it?
Good point, Glenn. No, you're right. Glenn was. When was Glenn?
That was the second Camino.
That was the second time when
think the
we had
third.
walked back, because the first time, that's right, the second year we were there, we went out on a bus and stayed for 3 or 4 days, and then I walked back, and then you walked with me, and we stayed for 3 or 4 more days after that, and that's when we met Glenn Slater from California, and Glenn has since passed on, actually. So
That to say, on the third Camino, he could not find somebody who was willing to share this huge thing.
But when we got back to Santiago, there was a spot selling it.
And I ate all the rice.
She ate the rice. She's a good sport. I got to give her that. She's a good sport. So that's the food in Finisterre. We love the food in Finisterre as well. And then we loved the waterfront. And we talked a little while ago about the reasons we love Finisterre was because of the pilgrim atmosphere, the active fishing community atmosphere, and that hippie atmosphere as well. And this is just a few pictures of the waterfront. Just imagine the waterfront, and then back behind that a boardwalk, and behind the boardwalk all of the just rows of restaurants back in there, and then behind that hills going up with it's just absolutely beautiful, vibrant waterfront, and so yeah, I could sit down there for quite a while.
We did.
I know I could because I did several times. And then, okay, I think we've got, I'm not sure.
Close to the beach.
We didn't know this place.
Wow, this is just another one of those wow experiences that we are able to have tonight on this Camino. Something that we missed the last time, but it looks like we're going to get tonight. Close to the beach.
We didn't know about this place our first Camino when we went to Finisterre. This was the second year.
Yeah, this is the West Beach. So Finisterre, imagine a very thin peninsula, maybe 2 kilometers across it. The village of Finisterre is on the east side and on the inland side with a nice beach as well. And then just like a 15-minute to 20-minute walk from the center of the village back across this peninsula to what we're calling the West Beach. They also call it the Hippie Beach because that's where the hippies go to hang out. And so it was. We really enjoyed this second and third years every time we were there. So we'll just go down and show you a few pictures of that, and then we'll be done. Just the beach, looking up the right. It's called the Costa de Morta, the coast of death. Many shipwrecks along this coast over the period of history. Not many while we were there, but sunsets. While I was there, I realized that not a lot of North Americans, not a great percentage of North Americans at least, get a chance to see the sunset into the Atlantic. We get a chance to see it rise out of the Atlantic. We get a chance to see it set into the Pacific or the Gulf of Mexico. But very few of us get a chance to see it set into the Atlantic. And so, again, one of the great privileges that we had. And then at the end of this, every time we went, this would be whatever the last night that we were going to be there, this would be where we would go. And you can see why it's a little bit hard. Even as I'm talking about it tonight, it's a little bit... I want to cry a little bit because I want to go back to Finisterre.
This picture is a special invitation we had to hang out with some of those hippies. Some of the young people, we had a meal with them, and they said, hey, come on down to the beach with us. We're having a bonfire. So we went and sat in the circle and had a good time with them. And it was...
Remember the candles?
Candles that somebody climbed up a cliff and set tea lights in...
100 candles.
A little plastic cup, was it?
Yeah.
Set these tea lights up all over the side of the cliff, and they said it can only be done
once or twice a year.
Once a year. You got to have exactly the right night with no wind, because otherwise, by the time you started to light the candles, they would be all out. So we got to be blessed with being able to see the wall of lights, and it was just like flickering stars.
Very romantic, right? Very
cool.
romantic. It was cool. Somebody was there with the saxophone. I think somebody had a guitar as well, and sat along late into the night, the last night there, and then you get up, and it's time to say goodbye and head back to North America. But that's all right. That's all right. Life is a series of
hello and goodbye.
Hello and goodbye. So we've been privileged to say hello, goodbye. So thank you for watching. We may come back and do one about, we probably won't, I'm going to say we may come back and do one about our time in Porto, but it's really not Camino related or Barcelona at all. So this is probably the end of our walking down the memory lanes of Camino 2014. I've enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed it.
I hope you've enjoyed it. And when we finished Camino 2014, I couldn't find the picture to put up here, but our friend Helen from Australia sent us a little card, an e-card that said, "Thank you for." It was pictures of feet in the sand, I think, if I remember correctly. Anyway, it said, "Thank you
for being a part of My
Thank you
Camino.
for your part in my Camino. And so if you've watched this, thank you for your part in our Camino. And we hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope that somebody at least will get inspired to go and do a Camino themselves. I know that I am. I know that as soon as the borders open up again and allow us to do it safely, that would be my goal, would to go and walk the Camino Primitivo will be the next one that we'd like to try. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you. God bless.
Buen Camino.
Buen Camino.